My name is Tal Hazak-Lowy, and I'm the Executive Director of Friends of the Children Chicago. We're a professional mentoring organization intentionally serving the children facing the most challenging circumstances. Thank you for joining us for these few minutes to talk about the illiteracy crisis and what we can do about it. This is the distressing data from last school year. Only 12.2% of low-income students are reading on track by the end of third grade. We see this data reflected in our own program. When we assessed the children last summer, before we started our in-house literacy program, the data was alarming. 88% of our youth from kindergarten through fifth grade were reading significantly below grade level, and a shocking 83% of our sixth graders were only reading at a kindergarten to second grade level. Why in the world would a sixth grader reading at a kindergarten or even a second grade level keep on going to school? On-track reading by the end of third grade has been identified as a key indicator of a child's likelihood to graduate from high school. Schools teach children how to read until third grade, and after that, a child needs to read to continue learning. Literacy opens a child's world. When a child is literate, school is a welcoming place where they can learn and flourish. When a child struggles to read and is left behind, school becomes alienating. To compensate for an inability to read, children will often act out, disrupt, disengage, and ultimately drop out. If a child doesn't feel welcome in school, they'll seek a welcoming place elsewhere. They become prime targets for gang recruitment, who are more than happy to make the child feel welcome and valued for exactly who they are today. It's not hard to see how illiteracy becomes a direct pipeline to violence and incarceration. 85% of youth involved with the courts are illiterate. If you cannot read and write, your options in life are severely limited. 70% of Americans who are incarcerated cannot read at a fourth grade level. In Illinois, the cost to incarcerate a youth for 1 year is nearly $200,000. There are countless other ways to measure the economic costs. Lower literacy rates directly correlate to higher unemployment rates, reduced income, and overall impacts U.S. competitiveness on the global stage. And the cost of illiteracy is far more than economic. It's a moral failing. Success in school, employment, and life is utterly dependent on the ability to read and write. And we are failing Chicago's children. There are two things this discussion is not about. First, early childhood support. We know that it's ideal if every child received early childhood support. The challenge is that early childhood programming is contingent on active caregiver engagement. But what about those children whose caregivers can't, don't, or won't engage in early childhood programs? Far, far too many children and families are being missed by these programs, and we need a plan to support those children. And two, high-quality education. Every child needs fantastic teachers, an evidence-based curriculum, access to books, and books that have characters that look like them. But a high-quality teacher or curriculum is a necessary but not sufficient condition for a child to learn. What we're discussing today is baseline humanitarian support. All children need baseline humanitarian support to be in a brain state to learn. Many of us grew up with so much support and security that it's hard to even imagine that some children are missing this vital precondition to learning. The reality is that far too many children grow up in homes and under circumstances where they are facing extraordinary hardship on a regular basis. Living under continued high stress and instability takes a toll on any person, especially a child, and this impacts their ability to learn. How do we know this? Because all human brains work in the same way. Our brains work from the bottom up. When a person experiences something, that information sent by the senses first passes through our downstairs brain, which is focused on our safety and well-being. If the brain deems that we are not safe, we stay in our downstairs brain in survival or defensive mode, which is fight, flight, or freeze. The downstairs brain is not capable of conscious, logical, or reasoned thinking. It is hyper-aware of potential threats. If a situation is deemed safe by the security in our brain, only then can we access the upstairs brain. This is the part of our brain that allows us to think, plan, learn, and reason. A child can only learn when they gain access to their upstairs brain. How do we provide baseline humanitarian support? Children need consistent, trusting relationships with adults who are attuned to how they're doing. Adults who will ensure the child's physical and emotional safety and address their basic needs. I want to share a story with you. Roland is a smart, inquisitive, and charming fifth grader in our program. His smile lights up a room. But Roland has seen more hardship in his 10 years on this planet than most of us can even imagine. He hid in a bathtub from a gunfight that broke out during his 8-year-old birthday party. And he and his mom have moved countless times and for a variety of heartbreaking reasons. A few months ago, he went to school ready to fight. His hoodie was up, his arms were crossed, and he was seething with anger. He alternated between total silent treatment and picking fights with his teacher and peers. All day long, he was punished for his poor behavior. He spent the majority of the day isolated in the back of the room or in the hallway. His professional mentor, Willie, picked Roland up after school. Roland continued his silent treatment and directed his anger at Willie. When they arrived at the Friends of the Children clubhouse, Michelle, our education specialist, joined Willie and Roland. For almost an hour, he refused to talk to them. Willie and Michelle didn't get mad at Roland. They loved on him. They told him they could see that he was very upset, and when he was ready, they were there to listen to him. And after some time, Roland melted. He shared that he heard that they were about to be evicted again. That is a very heavy load for a 10-year-old to carry on his shoulders. After he got out his fears and was comforted by Willie and Michelle, Roland sat and read with them for almost an hour. That's what baseline humanitarian support looks like. Schools cannot do this alone. We need to partner with community organizations like Friends of the Children so that we can provide all of the children the baseline humanitarian support that they need. Every child can learn to read. They just need proper support. That's exactly what we do at Friends of the Children. There's so much more to say on this topic, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation. Please reach out anytime. Thank you very much.